Good morning and welcome to this homeschooling webinar for students with literacy difficulties such as dyslexia. We really hope you enjoyed meeting Alfie, one of our students. Alfie is a student with dyslexia, and as you can see, for him, being able to study at his own speed, enjoy his learning more and choose the subjects that he enjoys and was good at has been a real benefit for him. So I hope you enjoyed that short video. I'm Lynn Stacey, Marketing Manager here at Wolsey Hall, and a big welcome to all of you that have joined us this morning. Just to let you know, we will be recording this event and we will send out links to the recording after the event. It will come out as a Zoom email, very similar to the reminder ones you've been getting. So don't look out for that in your inboxes rather than an email from the Wolsey Hall email address. So the format for today will be a presentation followed by a question and answer session. And you can find the question and answer session at the bottom of your screens. However, we would recommend that you wait until the end of the presentation before you start putting your questions in there, because we're hoping that we've got a really detailed presentation for you, and many of your questions hopefully will be answered there. But anything that you do have, feel free at the end to pop those into the question and answer. And we've got a number of colleagues in our from our admissions team and our tutor team who are there waiting to answer your questions. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Christine Armstrong, our Head of Primary, and Deja Pygott, our Learning Support Manager, who will be giving you the presentation this morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to our presentation on students with literacy difficulties, including dyslexia. And we want to talk about how we support students. I am Deja, the Learning Support and Wellbeing Manager here at Wolsey Hall Oxford. I'll be talking through some of the key ways that we support students and why this is really important to our ethos of supporting students with their learning. So there are many benefits to studying through our homeschooling service, and one of them is flexibility. This is a story I hear all the time, that students are in classrooms, it feels really rigid. There's no system to help their students or their child learn at a pace or in a way that works for them. So flexibility is key, and it's what we offer here at Wolsey Hall. You can organize the school day in a way that suits the student, from choosing when you start to choosing how you do those lessons. So you may go out and do active activities involving kinesthetic resources. You might go to museums. You might supplement that work any way you like, but that's down to you. No one else is dictating that. You can work to the level of the student. So you can pick levels where the student is. It doesn't have to be linked to chronological age, and you can mix those levels. So if we're doing year 4 in maths, we can do year 3 in English. There is that flexibility to choose that. There is a key worker called your Student Progress Manager, and they will help you manage your timetable and think about how things can work within the structure of your family dynamic, when you go on holiday, when you take time out, how that works for you. And courses can be run alongside other commitments. And that's really important, because in a school year, there's very fixed times about when we go to school. But here at Wolsey Hall, you have a fixed time to do the course, either a year or 2 years. And then it's down to you how you organize that time. We will guide you, but ultimately that's your decision to figure out how you'd like that to work. We also help students think about pace and work within this new way of learning where we say, actually, there's no more, I can't copy everything down before the teacher moves on. I didn't have time to finish everything. I was asked to stay in at break to finish my work. And I'm sure that that is a common story for many of your children and students that we support, where the work was not finished at certain points because they struggled with this specific learning difficulty, and it felt like a punishment. No more. So we want the students to work at a pace that suits them, and allow you to gain time to develop those good study habits. No more of this sort of running along, get all the key content down, and then I haven't really even had time to understand what it really means. This is time to really like learning and enjoy what the students are studying. And the last key way I think we support students with specific learning difficulties, including dyslexia, is through understanding. We have tutors with a wide variety of experience here. We have your dedicated key worker in the role of the student progress manager, which you will hear about a little bit later. I am a specialist literacy teacher. I'm a qualified SYNCO. I'm a therapeutic teacher. I have written education, health, and care plans. So we are really qualified to help and support students with dyslexia here at Wolsey Hall Oxford. And we want to give students that feeling of positivity, that we highlight their strengths and build their self-esteem, and that we understand them and we understand the struggles that they're going through. We understand what you're going through as a family and the journey, which may have been difficult along the way to you getting here. So I really think if you come across other organizations or other professionals before and you felt like I'm repeating myself, they don't understand, we will try our very best to understand where you've been and where you want to go. So a little bit more about us at Learning Support. As I said before, I am a specialist literacy teacher, so I work with students all across the year groups to think about how they can develop their literacy skills. If they've got dyscalculia, which often comes alongside dyslexia, we can talk about strategies for learning regarding number. I also work with students to think about those study skills that I talked about earlier, that we want to give students time to embed. So we'll talk about things like organizing time, focus, motivation. And I do all that through the qualifications and the learning that I've done over the years as a SYNCO, as a specialist teacher, as a therapeutic teacher, to really help support students. And the other member of our team is Steph. She is the learning support administrator, but she's also really well placed to think about these things with you about how we learn at Wolsey Hall, because she's a tutor and a psychology graduate. So we're really helping students to think about how they can approach their learning from a sort of therapeutic standpoint and an academic standpoint. So how does learning support work at Wolsey Hall? There's all different kinds of things that we can do, and I mentioned some of them earlier. And we want to think about how we can best support students within the system that we have here at Wolsey Hall. So we have our tutors, we have our student progress managers, and us in learning support, we're here to communicate and sort of give that space between the professionals that you'll be working with so that your needs are understood. They can communicate with us about how they can best support the student in their learning. And so we all work together. We all open those channels of communication to best support our students. We give that study skills support. We do access arrangement support. And we also support students with guidance through their work with local authorities. If you have an education, health and care plan, I might talk to you about how that fits in with our Wolsey Hall system. So I also suggest particular products or assistive technology that might work for the students. So there's a lot of my knowledge that I'm here trying to impart and give to the students so you do your absolute best as a family. And it's not just learning support that's here to support the students who need something extra. We have student communities which can also form another support system for students, especially if they are studying outside of their chronological year. So perhaps your student needs to go back a year. You're saying they rush through year 7, the pandemic ruined things. They didn't get quite the information that they needed. We need to embed that learning before they can move on. Will they feel unhappy, unusual about that? But if they join student communities, they can be surrounded by students of their own age, talk about common topics like anime, join book clubs, all of those really interesting things that students want to do and want to feel connected to other students with. And most importantly, find other students like them. We have a huge community of students at Wolsey Hall who have literacy difficulties. And it's really important that students see themselves in others being successful. Well-being is a top priority here for us. As you can see in my title, I'm also the well-being manager. And that really means through dedicated systems of work or through my work with families, we talk about how we can have happy students, because I believe happy students learn best. You can see on the screen some of the testimonials from families who feel that well-being has drastically improved as a result of moving to homeschooling at Wolsey Hall. And we really believe that well-being is the key to unlocking academic success. And if students struggle with their well-being or their self-esteem as a result of schooling experiences, we can support with that. We have a mentoring program. I work with students one-to-one, where we discuss all manner of things, from the idea of who they are as a learner, what they hope to get out of their academic journey, what has happened in the past that has felt like a barrier, and strategies to overcome those barriers to learning. Well-being really is truly very, very important here.
So thank you, Deja. I hope that information from Deja just helps to give a sense of our approach at Wolsey Hall, and how seriously we do take well-being, and seek to, as best we can, support any students that may have additional needs. At this point, I thought it would be useful for us to go through and explain a little bit more about how Wolsey Hall works and what the programs look like, because we do very much believe that the system that we set up and the approach we have to learning is suitable for a whole range of students with a number of additional needs, as well as those that are just looking for a different experience to a physical school setting. So just to start off, just want to point out that we are a Cambridge school, and we're a Cambridge school at both primary and secondary. So we were in fact the first primary online school that was accredited by Cambridge, and we've been a secondary Cambridge school for many, many years now. But we also follow the English national curriculum as well. So our courses actually bridge both of these, and that is just peace of mind for anyone who may be based in the UK, wondering whether or not the courses cover the UK English national curriculum, but also as well in terms of a global approach and a global perspective, we're also a Cambridge school as well. So a little bit about Wolsey Hall. So we have been around for quite a long time. Wolsey Hall started in 1894. Obviously back then it wasn't an online service. It was more of a physical service using the postal service for distance learners. But we have moved on hugely since then. We now support and assist students in a huge range of countries. So we're currently in more than 125 countries around the world, helping students. And our courses cater for students as young as 3.5 to 4 years old, all the way through to 18. And we also cater as well to mature students as well, who are looking to take some of those exams probably for fun, or to just bridge a gap in opportunity that perhaps they didn't get when they were younger. We are really proud of the service that we provide, and we're really proud of all of the students that we have assisted over the years. Some of those are slightly more renowned than others, and we're very proud to be able to mention Nelson Mandela in that as one of the past students of Wolsey Hall. So why choose us? So Wolsey Hall, I think, is different to lots of other online providers. We really do, like Deja was talking about earlier, we really do want to foster a really strong partnership between Wolsey Hall, the families that are part of our community, and of course the students that are learning with Wolsey Hall. And that's really important to us. To help with knowing where to start with Wolsey Hall, we do have a series of little ready tests. Test is probably a hard word. Their purpose is to help find the right entry point to our courses, but we have a number of ready tests, pre-entry criteria that can be used to help place student as best we can in the right year group to start. And we do offer placement flexibility. As Deja mentioned, we do have a number of students who actually are learning at different levels. So if you have a child that is particularly excelling in one or multiple subjects, it may be that they are taking the year above their age-related year group. Likewise, if there are gaps in understanding, or you're just looking to go through some of the learning again, some of our students also essentially repeat years in that they join us at a level below their age-related level, just so that they can make sure that they really have understood and consolidate the learning that's necessary to build the foundation blocks. So we provide all of those things that you'd need when you have learnt with Wolsey Hall. So there are certificates and there is end of course completion reports. So anything that you might need to share with other bodies, so such as local education authorities or a Ministry of Education, to demonstrate that your child is actually learning and following a curriculum in a home environment. And we have a strong support network as well for families. And this is not only with Wolsey Hall, so we have that network of tutors and your SPM and access to other services like learning support, but also as well, we have the wider community that Deja mentioned, and there is support through being part of communities and getting to know other families at Wolsey Hall. And just to say, from a security point of view, then we do have password protected communities, password protected access to our online platform. So you can be reassured as well that we are following all of the protocols one should for access to online content. So I thought it would be useful just to show you the different phases of Wolsey Hall. We might have parents from a range of these phases with us today. So just to help with understanding, we have different phases, and our lowest phase of school is what we call lower primary. And lower primary is made up of getting ready for year one courses, year one courses and year two courses. And typically in a physical school setting, this would be for children aged around 3.5 to 4 years old through to 7 years old. Then we move on to upper primary, and this phase of school is for years 3, 4, 5 and 6. And typically in a physical school, these children are aged between 7 and 11 years old. And at that point, you move on to the secondary phase. So the secondary phase is made up of lower primary, and that's years 7, 8 and 9. And this is typically for children who are between 11 and 14 years old in a physical school setting. After these phases, you then move into the exam years. So up until this point, each year group of study that I've mentioned is the equivalent of 1 academic year of study in a physical school in each particular subject that's offered. And typically it takes about 7 to 9 months to complete the equivalent of 1 academic year of study in a school. When we hit the GCSE and IGCSE phase, then it changes slightly. So now we look at 2 academic years of study for a course. So we call these typically years 10 and 11, and students in a physical school setting would be 14 years old through to 16 years old when they are on their GCSE and IGCSE courses. So they typically take around 18 months to 2 years to complete. And you would purchase the course as a 2-year block of study. So it's 2 years of study that leads to an external examination in that particular subject. So the majority of these are Cambridge exams, and they lead to a globally recognized examination result that's marked externally to Wolsey Hall. So following this, most people move on to A-level. And A-level, again, it's a 2-year study program, which typically takes between 18 months and 2 years with Wolsey Hall. This is known as years 12 and 13. And in a physical school setting, these year groups are for students between 16 and 18 years old. At the end of your A-levels, just like with the GCSE phase, you take external examinations in the subjects that you have chosen, and that again leads to globally recognized qualifications. And those qualifications are what you need to apply to universities and colleges, or at this point, some people choose to leave education and move into the workplace. But as I say, the qualifications that you receive are internationally recognized for both a career path and higher education, such as university and college entry as well. So just moving on, just want to share with you a little bit of information about what courses we provide. So we're going to start off with Abdullah, who's just going to tell you a little bit about his journey.
Hi, I'm Abdullah. I'm from Singapore. I study in Wolsey Hall Oxford, doing year 3 and 4. We live near the sea, and this makes us enjoy the nature along with my studies. A typical day for me would be studying, playing, swimming, and spending lots of time with my family. I study maths and English from year 4, and geography, science, and computing from year 3. The day begins with printing out the lesson plans for the day, and after my mom explains them, I do the exercises on my own. Along with the exercises, I also sit with the computer to do activities online provided by Wolsey Hall Oxford. The online activities are interactive, and it helps me to do the subjects like a game, and it's very interesting to me. Along with my regular studies, I get crafting activities from science and geography, which gives me peace of mind, and I take great interest in doing so. My favorite game indoors is to play with building blocks. I love to color when I'm sitting idle. My mom prints out coloring pages, and I love to spend my time coloring them. After studying 1 or 2 subjects, I go out to the playground with my brothers. Homeschooling has been an amazing experience, as I finish my studies in time and get plenty of time to do self-development and build a memorable childhood.
So I hope you enjoyed meeting Abdullah. Just a couple of things to mention from that video. You probably heard him say that he's studying some subjects at year 3 and some at year 4. So he is an example of someone who is showing an interest and an ability in a couple of his subjects. So actually he's studying them at the year above the year group that he would have to study them at if he was in a physical school setting. There was also a nice blend there of online and offline activities. So because of the course choices, you can see that he has the opportunity to be away from the computer as well, which is something we strive for. We don't want people in front of a computer all day, every day. And he also referenced his mum in there. Because he's a primary age child, then obviously the support of an adult is absolutely key in our courses at the primary level. And he mentioned that after he'd taken the responsibility for printing out some of the resources they needed, then he talks through it with his mum, so his mum can guide him through what he needs to do. So moving on to the different subjects that we have, just going to quickly just give you an overview of the subjects available at the different phases. So starting with lower primary, at the top there, you can see we have getting ready for year 1 English and getting ready for year 1 maths. So that's for our youngest learners, around 4 years of age. And that is a 36-week course. So all of the courses are the equivalent of 36 weeks, which is the equivalent of an academic year of study in a physical school. So that gives you time to cover all of the curriculum you need, as well as having opportunity to take holidays, and it factors in times of illness and other things that may impact your studies. So you access the courses for 12 months, so 52 weeks, and the course content is 36 weeks, and that's equivalent of what you would be studying in a physical school once you factored in holidays, etc. So moving into year 1 and 2, you can see we have a nice selection of subjects. So we have what we call the core subjects, and the core subjects are considered to be English, maths and science. So this just means that they are the most important of the subjects. And so English, maths and science is available from year 1 and year 2. And we also have a breadth of other subjects as well to overlay with English, maths and science. So we have the opportunity to take humanities, which is geography and history combined. And we have some creative opportunities with art and music. We have skills for life, which is about self-development, personal development, and understanding emotions and relationships, which ties into mental health that Deja talked about earlier. It's a really great course to better understand yourself and others around you. And then we have languages with French there. And we have 2 free courses, a Get Active course and a mindfulness course as well. So moving on to upper primary. So we have the same subjects again, but now we have a couple more available. So we have international history as well as history. So history is slightly more UK centric, following the English national curriculum suggestions in there. International history has more of a global perspective, but you can see there's a lovely breadth of subject opportunities in primary. People ask us how many courses they should take. It really depends how you're using Wolsey Hall to help with your education. So we do suggest that core subjects should be taken, so English, maths and science. And if Wolsey Hall is your only source of learning, then typically primary students will be taking somewhere in the region of around 5 to 8 subjects. If Wolsey Hall is a supplement and you're using some other pathways for learning as well, then it might be that you're just taking 3 subjects with Wolsey Hall and you are looking to develop knowledge and understanding in some of the other subjects using a different pathway. So I'd like to introduce you to Stefania, and Stefania is one of our secondary students studying for IGCSE. And Stefania is just going to give you an overview of what a day looks like for her, which is slightly different to Abdullah's day. And also as well, she is demonstrating as well our online learning platform, Canvas. And Canvas, all students have access to. So whether you are on getting ready for year 1 through to A level, you will all be using Canvas as the online learning platform for all of your lessons and resources.
Well, hi, I'm Steph, a student that does IGCSEs at Wolsey Hall, and I'm here to show you my steps to preparing and completing an assignment.
Step 1. Canvas.
This is the app or website where you're going to get all the information and material you need to learn for your subjects. It is your ultimate learning source. On Canvas, you can do your modules and quizzes, turn your assignments in, receive your assignment marks, and message your tutors for any help. Canvas will be your best friend.
Step 2. Modules.
Every subject contains more or less 9 modules. Every module consists of topics where it gives you tasks you need to complete. Most module work will require you to read some pages, do various questions, and jot down some notes. For my first topic in Economics Module 5, I will need to work through pages 124 to 125 in my course book. Then I'll need to write out some key points, and then I'm gonna have to check out this website they have linked. I usually like to note down any new definitions that I've just learned into my notebook, and I also write down any extra information that I need to remember.
Step 3. Quizzes.
At the end of each module, there is a quiz that awaits to be completed. This quiz is there to test your knowledge from what you've just learned. These quizzes are usually multiple choice, which makes it quite easy and super fun. It is definitely a great way to revise for your upcoming assignment, as you can retake them as many times as you want.
Step 4. Revision and preparation.
Before doing the assignments, it is important to revise and review everything you have just learned one last time. You can even do the quiz once more to make sure that you are fully prepared to do the assignment. Right before I start my assignment, I like to organize my desk space. I put out my assignment, my notebook, and a pen. And if I need to use my computer, I put that out as well.
Step 5. Assignments.
Now it's time to start. Every assignment has an instruction page where it will instruct you to either complete it under exam conditions or if it is an open book assignment. It will also show the recommended time limit, however you don't need to follow this as it is just an assignment. On my economics assignment 5, instructions says that I need to write on lined paper using a black pen. It also further says to upload your work on Canvas. However, it doesn't say anything about working in exam conditions, so this is an open book assignment. After I finished my assignment, I scan it on an app called Cam Scanner and then send it directly on Canvas.
Step 6. Marks and feedback.
Usually, marks and feedback from your tutor will be given back to you within a week. The feedback you get from your tutor is very helpful as it tells you what you've done correctly and what you must improve on. With the feedback, you also get the specimen answers sheet, which gives all the answers to the assignment. And to make the most of my feedback, I do the questions that I've gotten wrong once more. This is just to make sure that I've understood the module and won't do the same mistake twice.
So I hope you enjoyed meeting Steph there. As you can see, as a much older student at Wolsey Hall and her being in exam years, there's a bit of a different approach to the work that she's doing. You can see that she has developed independence over her years with Wolsey Hall and takes responsibility and ownership for her own learning. And because she is part of the exam years, you can see as well, there is lots of structure in place and the approach is very much to help Steph develop the exam strategies that she needs and practice in the style of the exam, so that by the time she does take those exams, it will just seem like another assignment to her, to try and minimize the stress that we know can be involved with exams. So just want to talk to you a little bit about secondary and what courses are available. So starting with lower secondary, so that is years 7, 8 and 9. So you can see here again in blue, we have the core subjects here. So we have English. We also at secondary have English as a second language. So for those that join Wolsey Hall in secondary and perhaps don't have English as a first language, they have the opportunity to go on to a different English course if that is the current level that they're working to help develop their English language skills further. And of course, we have maths and the sciences. We also have history, international history, geography, Latin in the Roman world. So lower secondary really is either continuing with some of the subjects that you have studied at primary, if you were with Wolsey Hall at primary, and the opportunity to take new subjects as well and see whether you like them. So things like Spanish become available, and German, Latin in the Roman world, global perspectives. So there's an opportunity in lower secondary to really choose a broad number of subjects so that you have the opportunity to see whether those subjects are of interest to you and just to widen that experience of learning. Typically, children in lower secondary, again, it depends on how you're using Wolsey Hall, but if Wolsey Hall was the main source, then lots of students take between 5 subjects through to around 8 subjects, depending on your particular circumstance. Moving on from lower secondary, we then move into the IGCSE courses. So obviously I've mentioned the term GCSE and IGCSE. It's just to say that the I in IGCSE just means international. So GCSEs, so the General Certificate of Secondary Education, those courses, the GCSE, are predominantly for the UK market. If you are outside of the UK, then you will be studying for IGCSEs, so international GCSEs. However, if you're in the UK, you can still do IGCSEs. There is no requirement for you to not take the I version of a GCSE. IGCSEs, the only difference between GCSE and IGCSE is that the IGCSE, so the international GCSE, tends to have a slightly more global perspective to it. So a GCSE, because it's been created for the UK market, might have references and colloquialisms which are more related to somebody living in the UK. If you're taking an IGCSE, then they are careful not to make it country specific when they are putting in an example into a question. So IGCSEs can be taken by anybody, whether they are UK based or not. They are 2 academic years of study, as I mentioned, and you can see here it covers a wide breadth of subjects. And this is at the point where a student is really starting to think about what they enjoy and what type of career they're interested in having. So someone who has a specific idea of a career, if somebody knows already they want to be a doctor, for example, then that will impact the choices that you make at this level. So if somebody wants to be a doctor, then you know that actually you need to choose the sciences, and everyone that studies GCSEs in the UK will always have to take English and maths and science as part of their study. So that's more compulsory here in the UK. Typically, people tend to choose around 5 subjects through to 8 subjects, depending on their pathway and how Wolsey Hall is supplementing any other learning that they are taking. At the end of the 2 academic years, so typically a student with Wolsey Hall takes 18 months to 2 years to complete the IGCSE programme. You then take external examinations, and I'll talk about those a little bit more. You can see in the second column, just for anyone that's interested, we have a number of different sciences. So we have combined sciences, coordinated science, and we have biology, chemistry, physics. Combined science and coordinated science, both of those courses cover biology, chemistry, physics within them. But combined science is worth 1 GCSE and coordinated science is worth 2 GCSEs. So those two courses are for those that want to have science, but maybe it's not their most favourite thing in the world to do, or they know that moving forwards the pathway that they're likely to go down is not going to have a requirement for sciences as such. So they may just choose combined science or coordinated science if that's the case. For those that know that actually science is part of their future in some way, then they will probably choose biology, chemistry, physics, or a combination of those moving forwards into their GCSEs. So at the end of GCSE, IGCSE, we move on to the next 2 phases of study, and that is AS and A level. So AS just means that it's 1 year of study, and A level means 2 years of study. So some of the courses start off with 1 year of study, and that's AS, and then you continue on and it becomes an A level after 2 years of study and the examinations. But our admissions team can tell you more about that if anybody is looking at this particular phase of school. And again, you can see that there are lots of subjects to choose from. Typically at A level, this is where you really start to specialise. So this is the 2 years before university. And at this point, some students have an idea of what they're going on to do. Some don't, and they're not sure what their pathway is going to be moving forward. So they choose more based on the passion or the enjoyment they have for a subject. And those with a specific pathway in mind for their career will choose the right subjects to best fit that pathway. Most students will take 3 or 4 A levels across these 2 years, and that will be sufficient for them to make application to university at that point with their 3 or 4 A levels respectively, and they are recognised by universities throughout the world as an entry requirement. The other thing just to mention is asked a little bit is how science works. The international sciences don't have a practical element as such, so they have a theoretical approach to a practical, so that you're demonstrating that you have the knowledge and understanding of the practical aspects of science, because that's the key thing they're looking for rather than the actual demonstration. So just to say a little bit more about external exams and how they work. So for IGCSEs and our AS and A levels, where you do need to take an external examination, then there are external examination centres throughout the world, through Cambridge. And if you were to go on the Cambridge site and do a search for them, you often can find very easily the list of examination centres that are available in different countries throughout the world. And we would always recommend that you do look to make sure that there is a Cambridge centre somewhere near you. However, we do have help with that as well. We have examinations officers here at Wolsey Hall, and they can help to signpost you to local examination centres in your area if you're having any difficulty or you just need a little bit of help and support with that. And just to reiterate again that obviously that the Cambridge examinations are recognised throughout the world by universities and employers alike. So how our courses work, I think you have now quite a good overview and flavour. As I mentioned, most people tend to take between 7 and 10 months to complete their course, but you do have 12 months of access to factor in any holidays, illness, things like that as well. And we do pride ourselves on the fact that you can start any time of year. So unlike schools where you have to start at the beginning of a school term, you can start any time of year. And part of the inquiry process that you make, our team can help you try and find the starting point for your child. So they have so that you just have some reassurance that we are starting at the best place for your child and their needs. We don't have online lessons, and this is really important because lots of other online providers actually send you a timetable and they tell you what time and what days of the week you need to be logging in online for those live lessons, with a teacher then talking at the children for that session. We don't do that. So our courses instead, they have videos dotted throughout the courses, they have web links, and they have lots of ways for you to learn the content that you need to make progress in that particular subject. And this gives ultimate flexibility to your timetabling, and this ensures that you as a family can go at your own pace through the courses without it being dictated by online fixed sessions or the pace of everybody else that's learning in that group. So it does give ultimate flexibility in that way. And as I mentioned before, we like to give a combination of online and offline learning where we can, so that students aren't in front of a screen all day, every day. So in terms of our learning platform, Canvas, which Steph demonstrated to us. So primary, this is an example for primary, because primary is set up a little bit different to the setup for secondary, which is modular based. So in primary, because the parents need to be on hand or another adult at home to help with the learning, we structure it a little bit differently for that. So you can see here, it's structured in weeks to help you build a timetable that suits you. And in each week you will see a lesson, and then each lesson talks you through for the parent how to actually execute that lesson at home with your child. So in primary, it's slightly more set up for the parent to be able to facilitate the learning at home. And when you move to secondary, it's set up for the student, and the lessons are directly written for the student. And I think that that's quite an important difference between primary and secondary, which is due to the age of the children at the primary level. So not only do we provide the lessons and the content for the learning to take place at home, but a number of our courses have subscriptions tied to them as well. So for example, our language courses, you get a subscription to Language Nut as well, which is a fantastic online resource. For maths, you have a subscription to My Maths if you're in the older primary year groups or in secondary, to help facilitate the learning and give a different experience. So there are lots of subscriptions dotted throughout our courses, depending on the subject. And also as well, the courses have videos and web links to support the learning. So something like politics, for example, in secondary, the web links and the videos are quite important, but they need to be current and regular, so they're updated very frequently. There are downloadable worksheets that you can do at home. So there are many, many different opportunities on the course to check understanding, to help facilitate learning. And once you have access to Canvas, the online learning platform, you then work through your course at your own pace at home. So how do our staff help with that? If you are at home accessing the online platform and you are working through the course at home in your own pace? Well, we've got two key personnel. So the first one is your student progress manager. The student progress manager, or your SPM, that will be the first person that you meet after you have enrolled on Wolsey Hall courses and you're handed over from the admissions team. So they will reach out to you to have an initial conversation with you, find out a little bit more about your child and your family situation, and they will help to create a timetable for your assignments. You saw in Steph's video, she mentioned an assignment. So all of our courses have key milestones throughout the course, and the key milestones are represented by an assignment. An assignment is something that you then undertake at home. It's a reflection of the last block of learning that you've done, and then that is actually sent into Wolsey Hall to be marked by our tutors. So the student progress manager, when you first join, will help put together kind of a schedule for those assignments to come in based on your specific circumstances and how you are looking to put in place the time on the course. These are possible to change further down the line, so they're not set in stone, and if actually something then comes up that means that needs to be changed, then the SPM can help with that. So the SPM will be monitoring all the subjects that your child is taking, and they will be checking the grades and the feedback that they're receiving for those milestones, those assignments. So they are the person, or that is the person responsible for making sure that your child is on track and that your child is making progress. And if they see that there might be anything that needs addressing, then they get in contact with you when they are doing those reviews of your child. They are your first port of call. They are the key contact person. So if you're going on holiday and there's multiple tutors that your child has as well, you can just let your SPM know that you're going on holiday, and the SPM will make sure everybody that needs to know knows that. Likewise, if you have a query, you have a problem, you're not sure about something, you can reach out to your SPM and they can help you with that. Your tutors, you may have more than one of. So you'll only have one SPM, but you may have many tutors. So depending on the subjects that your child is studying, you might have a tutor for each subject. You might have a tutor covering 2 or 3 subjects if they're further down the school. And their key role is to mark your assignments when they come in. These are all qualified UK teachers. And so they have the skill and the expertise and the experience to be able to mark the assignment that comes in from your child, to give key strengths that they see in that piece of work, to identify next steps of learning for your child to help them progress even more in that particular subject, annotate onto the work itself to point out things that they have noticed. And this is really, really important in your child's journey, that they are having the opportunity for a qualified teacher to see their work and to give constructive feedback on how they're getting on and what they can be doing moving forwards. The tutors are also available via the learning platform on Canvas as well. So if your child or you, if you are responsible for a primary student's learning, if you get stuck, if you just want to ask something, if you're not sure about something, you can always send a message to your tutor and they will get back to you using the messenger service in Canvas as well. So you have multiple tutors. And if you imagine it as an umbrella over the top, you have your student progress manager, who is just making sure that everything is going smoothly across all of the learning. So in terms of additional support, obviously we've mentioned learning support today, and Deja and her team are a fantastic resource that we have to support our families. For those of you that may have older students, we also have a university advice service as well. This is sometimes used by students who are choosing their GCSEs because they want to check that their career pathway that they may already have chosen suits the IGCSEs that they have picked. We have a reference service to support those families who are making university applications towards the end of A-levels as well. And as Deja mentioned, there's also the wellbeing service as well. So Deja and her team not only support with additional needs, but also as well, they have a big focus on wellbeing and can assist in that area. And finally, just to say, staying connected is very important to us. So we've said lots about the community already. Our community sites, and there is one for primary and there is one for secondary. The community sites, they have clubs. So if your child is primary age and they love Lego, they might be part of the Lego club and taking on the monthly challenges to build different things. There's book clubs, there's debate clubs in secondary. So there's different clubs that students can join. We've got a very active chess club and students play against each other. We also have a very active Facebook page as well. So we have Facebook for primary and Facebook for secondary parents. And this is a great way to find and meet other parents who are part of Wolsey Hall too. And actually, the Facebook pages are often the route that people take to start their own little WhatsApp groups and various other little groups, having found families within the location that they are living in. In primary, we have a newsletter that goes out every month. There are regular competitions for children to participate in. And as children hit secondary, Deja mentioned already, there is an active forum for secondary students as well, so that they have the opportunity to chat with others and find common hobbies and interests to engage with. So at this point, I'm going to pass you back to Lynn, and Lynn will talk us through the next steps.
Thank you very much, Deja and Christine, for the presentation. Yes, so as we mentioned at the beginning, we now move into a Q&A part of this session, just so that we let you know from the beginning that we won't be able to answer any questions that are very specific to an individual child. So for those sort of questions where you probably need a little bit more in-depth discussion about your personal circumstances and circumstances of your child and their education, please do send in an inquiry form. You can see the URL link on the screen at the moment, and then our admissions team can have a one-to-one personal confidential chat with you about anything and everything regarding your child's education. Okay, so we're going to start by, we've got the question and answers. You put your questions in there now. Our team are ready waiting to answer for you. We will introduce some of the questions into the more general discussion so that we can perhaps answer them in a little bit more detail. So let me have a look and see what we have. So we've got one here. One for you, Deja. How do we get proof from the school to help with access arrangements for exams?
So we do have an access arrangement service, and we support families to think about the paperwork process that they might go through with their exam centre and what information they will need. Often exam centres ask for confirmation of the student's normal way of working or usual way of working, depending on the phrase they use, and we can provide that letter on headed paper, just like you might get a letter from your doctor to confirm certain other conditions. So that's a service that we provide. You book in for that, you have a chat about what needs to be in the letter, and then we can send that off to the exam centre.
Is it worth saying what access arrangements are, just for anyone that might be interested in the reply you give, but they're not quite sure what an access arrangement is?
Yeah, absolutely. So access arrangements are, as they sound, arrangements that can be put in place at the exam part of the journey that your student or child will go through, and they can range from a wide variety of things, from extra time in the exam to the use of a computer, or a reader or a scribe. The Cambridge Handbook is a really good resource to understanding what those access arrangements are, what evidence you will need, and all of that information can be found on the Cambridge website in the handbook, and I believe it's from page 28. So if you're really keen to know more about access arrangements, please go and look there. It's really, really clearly laid out, and it will tell you what kinds of things are on offer and what might work best for your young person.
Thank you, Deja. So if you've got a student that is severely dyslexic, we wanted to know if there's a lot of reading and writing in the courses, or, you know, are there other ways that students can access the courses? And also, are the courses the same for a dyslexic student or other learning difficulties, or is there different courses that we would be offering?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. And the answer is really important. And so the courses are the same. The way that you access them and the way we remove barriers to learning might be different. But the reason the courses are the same is because at the end of all of this learning for schools, every student is expected to take the same kind of exit assessment. And so if we change course material, then we're not being fair to those students who have additional needs, because nothing about that process will be different except for the access arrangements that they will be able to take part in as a result of their diagnoses or their difficulties. There may be lots of reading and writing as part of some of the courses, but also that's where flexibility comes in again. So you may choose certain courses that, okay, maybe we're doing art because we know that we have an artistic child and they want to carry this on as a career, or maybe we want to do English, but you can work with learning support to figure out how students with dyslexia can access English and be successful. I really believe that all of the courses are available to students with additional needs with the right kind of support in place. We have severely dyslexic children accessing our courses right now, and they're doing well.
Can I just mention as well, Lynn? So all of our courses, so our Canvas platform has immersive reader, and some of you might be familiar with that from Microsoft products, etc. There are many things now that have immersive reader on them. Canvas has immersive reader as well. So where you would need to download a PDF, for example, to read something, that wouldn't technically have immersive reader on that document that you've downloaded. So you'd need to look for some suitable technology. But in terms of reading through the lessons and the instructions that are on the Canvas platform itself, which obviously make up quite a large part of the courses, then you have immersive reader available. And immersive reader allows you to do a few different things. So it allows you to change the background color to a color that may better suit your particular child. It allows you to enlarge text if that is helpful to you. It has an audio function, so it can actually read the text to you. And it also has a language function as well. So if you are not with us from the UK at the moment, and you may be a second or third language household as well, then if you're not sure of something, then you can always use the translator as well into your first language, just to check that the understanding that you had of those particular words or that particular sentence is as you thought. So there are a number of nifty things with our immersive reader that can be really helpful to students with additional needs.
Thank you both. If a child has additional needs, are all the tutors informed of these?
Yes. So if you, and also I want to stress as well that we really respect your privacy as well. So we want to make sure that we say this with your permission. So we talk about what is shared with tutors. We also have an individual learning plan system. So if you'd like to create a document that says, this is what my young person struggles with, this is what they will need help with, you can do that here, and we will pass that to all of the tutors if you would like that. But if you would like your tutors to know, this is a really useful way of communicating feedback with our young person, then we would love to know that information. So the more you share with us, the better. And then we can share that with the relevant professionals.
Thank you, Deja. When you're assessing which year to place a child, how do you take into account their additional needs? For example, a child with dyslexia may have trouble constructing answers, but they fully understand the content.
I think that's where the way that students learn using their access arrangements comes into play. So, for example, a student may have trouble constructing answers, but they might have an easier time constructing answers if they type them. So if that's part of the assessment process, then we will be able to see, okay, they're working at this level with this amount of support, and that's fine. There is something about being successful and not stretching a student at too far a level, because we really want to build students' confidence. And so I think it's really important that you can move through courses very quickly, you can consolidate information, you can skip years if you feel like, hey, we're doing really well. But I think it's always really important to have a good knowledge base that's consolidated, and then you can move through the courses at a rate that suits you. But, you know, the access arrangements are there to remove those barriers to learning. And if you have trouble to understand, you know, how you want that to work at home, please get in touch with learning support. We do consultations before you enroll to talk about how that might work.
Yeah, and it's worth saying as well that during the admissions process as well, there are conversations with the admissions team. So if there are additional needs, then that will probably form part of your discussion with the admissions team at the point of trying to find the best entry point for your particular child. So it's not, we don't take the tests or pre-entry criteria in isolation. It's normally part of an informed decision with the family as part of the admissions process, and where needed or where wanted, it might also involve learning support if there is a higher level of need that needs to be catered for.
Thank you both. Okay, we have run over slightly from the allotted hour, so apologies for that, and thank you so much to everyone that's continued joining us on this call. I would like to introduce Amber from our admissions team, who's going to answer one final question for us. So if anyone has additional questions or want to move to register their child, etc., how can they go about that, Amber, please?
Hi, everybody. So the first thing that we would ask you to do if you do want to register your child and find out more information about, you know, which levels are suitable, etc., is to visit our website and fill out an inquiry form. You can also see the link on the screen there for you now. Once we've got that inquiry, it will go to a member of our admissions team, and we will get in touch with you, send you lots of detailed information. We'll send you course samples, book lists, and we'll invite you to an admissions call so that we can discuss your child and their needs in a bit more detail, and we can then start to plan their admission to Wolsey Hall from there. Okay.
Thank you, Amber. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so I'd like to extend a really big thank you to everyone for joining us today, and we really do hope that you found the session useful and it gave you a really good understanding of what homeschooling with Wolsey Hall might be like for a student with some additional needs. As Amber has said, if you do have any further questions, then please do go to our website, send in us an inquiry form, and our admissions team will be very happy to have a one-to-one discussion with you so that we make sure that we're getting the right courses and support that your individual child needs. So once again, a really big thank you to everyone, and have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much.